And Bright Suns Travelers.
Bright Suns, everyone. Great to see a few people in the chat already.
So
We got
great to see everybody. Dean the
Dean the
Turkey
Turkey
Legster.
Legster kicking us
Thanks for
off
being
here.
here.
Yeah. Hate you won't be able to make it live, but glad you could drop in on us and leave us a comment.
Yeah,
Appreciate that, Dean.
yeah, that's great, Dean. We appreciate our team replay. If you're, we wanted to say we're up to 830 subs, and we wanted to say, if we're working on that 1,000, if you want to, give us
always
a like and a sub,
more.
we so appreciate it. There is always room for one more, and we really appreciate it, especially captains of our team replay, Lacey, Keith, and Joey from It's Joey's World. And if you haven't checked out that channel, you really are missing out, because they have an amazing channel. So check them out. But yeah, thanks, Katie. Good to see you. I have some things to get into the mail, guys, and you know how slow I am about getting stuff in the mail. But I've got everything gathered together. I've got some things to send out. So, but hey, Tina, I'm coming in hot too. I'm so coming in hot. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But thanks for being here, guys. We really appreciate it. Season finale today. Oh, Jennifer. Hey,
thanks
Jennifer.
for giving everybody a heads up there, Jillian. Yep, 17 more days to go Disney. So, like Jillian said, ring the bell so we go live, because we'll probably have some pop-up streams.
Yeah, we will, guys. We will be at Walt Disney World in 17 short days, and I'll be scheduling those actually pretty soon. Those live streams for while we're there. We'll be doing quite a few. Is my goal. I'm
welcome in, Ethan. Thank you for being here.
Work out that schedule. Oh, hey, Ethan. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So I'm hoping to work out, that schedule. Well, pretty much got it scheduled now, actually. Just got to get them posted so that you guys know. I'll do that pretty quick, probably sometime next week, and let you guys know when we're going to be live streaming. I have an annual pass now, so I'm able to go in. Y'all know how excited I am about my annual pass.
Humble
so
brag there. Humble brag.
Oh, I know.
We're not worthy.
Yes, I have an annual pass, and so I'm able to go in, for a couple of hours
at your leisure, which is a first for this is breaking new ground for the Hitchhiking Bones with Mom and the annual pass, because we don't live local. And so, for Mom to have the flexibility of that AP to, while we're there, just be able to drop in and, on a whim, and sleep in a little bit if you feel like it, because we've been so dedicated to, going from rope drop to, kiss goodnight, essentially. That's for them booting us out. And so, at the end of the night. And so, anyway, this is different. This is new territory for you, and I'm excited for you.
Hey, Carlos, welcome. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for being here, Carlos.
We really appreciate that. Good to see you, Carlos. Disney World Freak. Thanks for being here, friend of the channel. So many friends of the channel: Jennifer Caruso, Tina McNeil, Katie Mack, Dean the Turkey Legster. We appreciate y'all so much for popping in, and we're looking forward to that trip. Going to get those live streams scheduled. It's going to be tons of fun. Going to be doing hopefully a lot of live streaming from the parks while we're there. And so set your notification bell. If you're not subscribed, don't have that notification bell set, by all means do it. We are so excited to be down there, and since I have that annual pass, I've got some interesting things planned for the fall, so stay tuned for those plans. I'm talking about that, making some plans with my husband about some good stuff. I'm not gonna I'll let that cat out of the bag yet, but some good stuff coming up. So to season 3, William, what was your overall impression of this of this particular episode?
Lots of action, tons and tons of action. Very, very fast paced. I'll say it, because there's several people in the chat already. I did have a few thoughts here, about this episode. I was still
spoilers ahead, by the way. Yes, spoilers ahead, guys.
We're
from this point on.
We're talking about the final episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian, season finale. And so a few thoughts that I had leading into this episode.
Hey,
welcome in. Yeah, welcome in, Derpy Entertainment. So something that I was, kind of intrigued by, and I don't think, I saw some other people had tweeted, some thoughts as well. I thought that we were going to have a traitor in our midst. And the reason that I say that is because Moff Gideon, they found Moff Gideon's, basically the prison cruiser that was, Carson Teva had found that in a previous episode, and there looked to be like Beskar had been, Mandalorian Beskar had been used to help spring him from his captors.
So it kind of led us to that conclusion. We thought, well, if it's Beskar, it has to be Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, and so
not necessarily.
Yeah, and so that's that's what I thought that somebody was going to be a turncoat, And Axe Wove seemed like maybe a prime candidate since he did bounce through that hole and fly up to the ship. Granted, he went and got him back up and everything, which I got thoughts on that as well. But I was, I thought we were going to have a turncoat in our midst because the other piece of that too is, yes, Moff Gideon's established a base here on Mandalore, which is just feels wrong, for Moff Gideon to lay down roots in Mandalore.
Oh, it was just an affront. It's sacrilegious. It's to have him, on Mandalore using Beskar armor against the Mandalorians. It's it's bad.
Big bad guy energy there
to all Mandalorians and Mandalorian fans.
And so anyway, I thought we were going to have a turncoat in our midst. And so it's, I was intrigued to see that, didn't ultimately come to fruition. But, this, thinking about this too, and here's my other thought. Hey, welcome in. Good to see you, Angela. Thanks for being here.
Angela, thanks so much.
When you have the hearts and smiley faces, it's Angela.
It's Angela. When there are emojis, it's definitely Angela, not Jeff.
Yes, love
thanks
that.
For popping in, Angela.
Thanks for hopping in. And so let's see here. My other thought is the clones that we see in this episode of Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon previously had like a little facial hair going on, little kind of goatee thing going on. We see him in this season, and he's clean shaven. And then his clones are also clean shaven. And so, anyway,
raises a question.
Yes, it raises my eyebrows a little bit. And so it makes me wonder.
You and other Star Wars enthusiasts.
Yeah, and so I was kind of curious, and so let's see here if I can Google.
I'm still drinking coffee, y'all. I haven't moved on to lunch yet.
Yes, his face looks naked. there you go.
It does.
Let's see here. I was going to bring up a quick, Google search. He's got a mustache thing going in the first season.
So there's been a lot of speculation, with that, that this, we'll get into it here shortly. I probably should have waited till the end to go with some of this, but
it leads me to think, leads me to question whether or not this Moff Gideon, who, kicks, bites, meets his demise at the end of this episode. I'm still skeptical that whether or not that was actually Moff Gideon.
Actually, Moff Gideon. Yeah, I don't think it was.
So anyway, it's like, man.
Actually, I'm kind of glad because that accomplishes two things. That it obviously, they regained the planet. But it also leaves Giancarlo Esposito playing this great, character that we all love to hate, Moff Gideon, to come back. So, I like that. I like that as a plot twist. I really do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so,
had you not heard that, Angela? That theory? Yeah. That the Moff Gideon that they fought was a clone and not the.
So here he is in season 3. And here we're not the only ones thinking it. Is Moff Gideon dead in the Mandalorian season 3 finale? Explained. So here he is, no mustache. Here's another picture of him, mustache. So it, little skeptical. Another picture, mustache. So, a little bit skeptical on whether or not the actual, that's actually, he's actually gone or not, which, we're jumping ahead a little bit. But those are some thoughts kind of here at the outset.
Right.
And so
think about that, as we cover it, you can kind of mull that over. But that's what they're thinking, and being as they stumbled into the to the clone area where we find out that he is cooking clones. It's pretty good theory.
Welcome in, John.
Hey, welcome in, sir. Okay, should I do the William the recap of last week?
Yeah, go ahead.
Recap. Okay, so let me do a quick recap, guys, of episode 7. The spies were so anxious to get into this thing. We're ahead of ourselves. So last week starts Eli Kane initiates a holo communication with Moff Gideon, and so we know immediately our suspicions are confirmed that she is still, in fact, dirty. She's Empire. And she reports the incident on Navarro, which, ties all that, the pirates and Gorian Shard and all that back to Moff Gideon. He's, using the pirates to do his dirty work. And Gideon is surprised by this. He said, but, the Mandalorians are enemies. There's no way they'd work together. And Eli Kane says, well, they are. So Gideon tells her, I will deal with our Mandalorian friends. So then we see another important piece. We see Gideon meet with the Shadow Council. And so, Carson Teva has been trying to tell them, hey, the Empire's growing again, and they're not wanting to listen. And of course, we see with the Shadow Council that not only are they growing again, they're very organized because they have, these various leaders in each sector, who are working, in their own area. So, they meet and they agree. Because Gideon tells them of this, this Mandalorian threat, all of the Shadow Council agree to send him reinforcements. So then we cut to the Mandalorians. The Mandalorians decide to retake their home planet. So they land on the surface. They're going to scout it out, locate the Great Forge, secure the perimeter, bring down the families. They run into another tribe, actually, hidden on the planet, which is cool. And so when they arrive at the Great Forge, they're surprise attacked by Imperial troopers, and there is a base. There is an Imperial base on Mandalore.
Imperial troopers sporting Beskar. Which is another wrinkle.
Yeah, which goes against all of our religions. Moff Gideon, he's developed clone trooper armor made from Beskar, and the Mandos, they fight with the Imperial troops, and so at the end, it's a tough one at the end. There, Paz Vizsla sacrifices himself so that the rest of them can regroup, and he's cut off by a blast door. From the rest of the Mandos, and he is killed by the Praetorian Guard. So that's tough that we lost Paz Vizsla. I'm really upset about losing Paz Vizsla. But this is Star Wars, so even though he did not fall from great heights or get run through with a lightsaber, he could still be alive.
Oh, man. Yeah, we've resurrected several other characters, so it's never out of the question. I still, going back to Book of Boba Fett, I'm still not convinced Cad Bane's dead.
I don't think Cad Bane's dead.
Yeah,
I don't think Cad. I don't. I really don't. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, exactly. That one hurt. It did. Didn't it?
Yeah.
We really had gotten to really like Paz Vizsla. He was such an imposing, Mandalorian. He really had, he's a big guy. He was part of, Clan Vizsla, House Vizsla. And so, we got some comfort in this particular. We'll talk about that later. We got a little bit of comfort for all that in this particular episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough to watch. So this particular episode starts with just jump right into it. Bo-Katan and company are running from Imperial soldiers, and she's screaming in, to the radio to Axe Woves with their situation. Gideon's still alive. Imperial troops have a base on Mandalore, and we need help. We're in a fight. And she tells him, she is not going to give up this time. She knows that this is their only shot to retake the planet and get rid of these Imperials. She's had enough of these Imperials on her planet. She tells him we can't beat them in the air. We're going to have to beat them on the ground. So, send help. So Axe Woves continues his flight. He's in flight to the ship already to get help, to the cruiser to get help. And so, he continues on headed there to get some backup. And then meanwhile, we cut over to the troopers who have taken Din Djarin into custody, and they're kind of dragging him, through a hall.
Interesting looking cabling that they have him strung up by.
It is.
It to me, it's like the brightly colored, like green, some sort of green rope substance, and it looked like weed eater twine to me. But anyway, obviously
it may have actually been weed eater twine.
More flexible than weed eater twine for sure.
We've seen ice cream freezers dressed up as something else.
But anyway, that's what it reminded me of. But it's like this lime green. I was interested to see something used by the Empire that actually had some color in it.
That's true. Everything's black and
so
white.
Anyway, I thought, I was just intrigued by, this cord that they're using to string up Mando. And might I say here, I'll go ahead and say this now, but the fighting combat choreography throughout this episode is top notch. It's so good, between blasters, and
shields. So much of it. Oh, yeah. Different weapons.
Like electric, I don't know the actual term for them, but the poles that the Praetorian Guard use, like there's so many different forms. You got blasters, rocket fire, Darksaber combat, there's so hand to hand.
Moff Gideon wields an electro staff.
Yeah.
Called an electro staff.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Now, I think it's a little bit different than what
I'll share a picture of that there here in a minute whenever we get to that scene.
Praetorian Guard has, but there are lots of and each of these weapons has a background and a particular use, most of them. The electro staff was developed, and we'll cover that in a minute, was developed specifically for hand-to-hand combat against an enemy wielding a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah. But just super impressive, the choreography throughout, Mando, and it's just awesome because it seems like Mando is just adept at any sort of combat. Whether it's flying a ship, whether it's hand to hand, blaster. He's got various tools and trinkets. Trinkets, as Moff Gideon calls the Mandalorian stuff. The various tools that they have at their disposal. It's flamethrowers. Yeah, I mean it's just really, really cool throughout this whole episode.
Well, weapons are part of their religion.
Yeah, and so obviously these two troopers are not enough to keep Mando down for too long, and so he fights them off. It's kind of an extended fight scene. He does like this leg scissor takedown at one point because his hands are not free, and so huge shout out to Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. For the stunt doubles for Pedro Pascal, because it's just it's phenomenal. Just sitting there,
just
watching
a little sidelight here. Brendan Wayne, guys, for those of you who do not know, Brendan Wayne, who is one of Pedro Pascal's stunt doubles, is the grandson of John Wayne, the Duke. John Wayne. Oh yeah. So love that. But, really cool there.
Yeah, it's just very, very impressive, how well the fights are choreographed. And, Mando is able to, get out of this jam. And, he's in a pinch there, right there at the end. Hey, welcome in. Do we have Jeff joining now on Diz Our Dream there?
This must be Jeff. Hey.
Yeah, this must be Jeff. We've seen Angela here too. So we got both,
Thanks,
Jeff and Ange from Diz Our Dream, seemingly due to the lack of emojis this time. But anyway, yeah, just so cool. It's so well choreographed.
It really is.
And so, Mando's in a pinch. The one of the troopers has him in a bad spot. And all right, we'll see in a minute, Angela. One of the troopers has him in a bad spot. And Grogu intervenes in his IG-12 suit.
Yeah.
There we go. We have confirmation. We got Jeff and Ange here in the chat. So,
thanks, Sean.
But anyway, Grogu intervenes, takes out the trooper, crushes the trooper's blaster, and it's so funny, him hitting the buttons, yes and no, no.
It's great. And he, apparently, he really took to this IG-11 pram.
Yeah.
This big IG-11 or IG-12 pram that he's driving now. He's really doing well with that and having a lot of fun with it. And it gives him, a lot of freedom, especially for this part of, what they're going to have to do. It really, gives him some power. So, I've loved that. I don't know whose idea that was, to turn IG-11 into IG-12 and make him a giant droid pram for Grogu, but I love it.
Yeah. It's like a droid mech suit essentially for Grogu. And so he Din Djarin and he has a quick chat with Grogu, says we need for him to be brave. They can't keep running, we can't run around this, we got to go through them. And so Grogu nods yes, and he's with Mando to take out Moff Gideon.
That was cool. He says, "Are you with me, buddy?" And Grogu, no, it's just really, it's really, really sweet that and that Mando, has enough confidence in his abilities at this point to take him into a really dangerous situation. Where I go, he goes. Yeah. So, that was a neat saying there.
Yeah, and so then Mando goes on the comms, tells bo-katan that he's going after Moff Gideon. And she's trying to get the troops to safety so they can regroup. So we're here inside the Imperial base. Some fighters take off to destroy the Mandalorian fleet. A trooper
and we
enters.
Realize the scope. wow, we realize the scope of the occupation here on Mandalore, because this is not just a few fighters.
Yeah.
This is a huge cavern with, it looks like it's a landing bay. It's huge, and they have excuse me, a lot of fighters there.
Yeah. Yeah, Moff Gideon's built himself quite the nest here on Mandalore.
He has.
And so a trooper enters to tell Gideon that the fighters have launched and the Mandalorian fleet will soon be destroyed. But Moff Gideon comments, but the Mandalorian has escaped. And he tells the trooper that he will take care of Mando himself. Kind of one of those iconic lines, I'll deal with him myself. Puts on his helmet. And so, it's kind of funny. You see on the map, you've got like a green dot, and I can't remember what color the other dot is, but you can see he's kind of tracking the two of them through the facility. And so we cut to the caverns, close to the command center. Mando radios R5, who's on the surface, tells him he needs help for him to find the location of Moff Gideon's command center.
And this is cool. This is cool. I love this, that he, that R5, who we met in 1977, in kind of a bit part there in Star Wars, has been brought back into this in a big way. Of course, now this happens before the events of Star Wars, so or A New Hope. It's called
after.
We'll call it just Star Wars. After?
Yeah, it's after, because this is after the fall of the Empire, and so
that's right. That's right.
You got
that's right. Yeah.
Got turned around there.
But I got back to anyway. But so we've seen, he's still there, and he's still around, and so it's cool to see him back in. And he whimpers a lot. He's a cowardly droid who he does it anyway. He the little whimpers that he makes, the little fearful sounds that he makes are just classic. It's really cute, but he does what he's told. And
so he makes his way into the base, finds the communication port, and he kind of looking around corners basically, and there's mouse droids, typical mouse droids making their way through the corridors of this Imperial base, and he makes his way over to the port, sends Din Djarin a schematic with Moff Gideon's location, and so we have a heading. He knows where he needs to go to confront Gideon.
The little mouse droid, is patrolling the hallway, and they make a cute little noise too. Yeah, it's really neat. And I have often, and I don't know if they still have the mouse droid popcorn bucket.
That's what I thought about too.
I wish I had bought that. I'll have to look while we're there. Make a note of that and look while we're there. But they're really cute, and they're one of them. While all this is going on, we know they're gonna find R5. We know the little mouse droids are gonna find R5. It's really comical what happens here. But go ahead, proceed. As you were, William, as you were.
So we cut back to Axe Woves. He gets on the Imperial cruiser that's been, repurposed, hence used by his group of Mandalorians. He lands in the cruiser bay. Radius, the commander, tells him the situation on the planet below. He says, load the gauntlets and send all available troops down as reinforcements. Leave the capital ship behind as a decoy. Bo-Katan needs our help. And so
he is. I love the command that Axe Woves takes here. I love the forcefulness that this is what we got to do. He goes in there, he takes command.
Very decisive.
He's just Axe Woves is a great leader. And they're going to need great leaders moving forward, which is one reason I was so upset that Paz Vizsla fell. Maybe, but I love Axe Woves' part. It's the most involved we've seen him in the series, and I love that they brought him in. I love the actor.
And so Woves evacuates the bridge and takes command of the cruiser, and he engages with Imperial fighters. one thing, which this was one of the criticisms of, was it the Last Jedi? I think, in a time where you have droids who are capable of doing certain functions, it's like, how do we not have a droid that could steer a ship? And so you're not putting yourself at peril. As an Admiral Holdo, decides to take one for the team in that movie, and so
right.
And so here we have Axe Woves is willing to make potential sacrifice, and so anyway he's he's being the decoy. He's going to take a bunch of fire, and so we cut back to. We jump forward just a little bit, but he does end up, escaping the the crashing cruiser.
Well, and that's, I'm sure that I don't know that he ever, was planning on going down with the ship, if you will. I think he always, was hoping for an out. And the Mando's jetpack gives them a lot of, gives them that option, gives them that ability, to escape, to fly. They can fly. Yeah. So they can fly. They can fly. So yeah, definitely. So I don't know that he was planning to go down with the ship unless it happened accidentally. But but he takes command here, and he knows what has to be done.
Oh, for sure. And so anyway, he does make a narrow escape. As it later in the episode. But we cut back to Din Djarin and Grogu arriving outside the entrance to Gideon's command center. It has red barrier shields securing the entrance with clone troopers at each shield. Very reminiscent of Phantom Menace. As we have that fight scene between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The various barrier shields that you see. And so, very reminiscent of that. And so, Din Djarin, Mando has no weapons at this point. And so he knows it'll have to be hand-to-hand combat. And so he radios R5 and he tells them to deactivate each shield one at a time when at his mark, when he tells them to.
Now, I love this scene. I love the idea of having for the shields like in a line, like a separate shields. And what are there? 4 or 5?
I'm not sure. I didn't count.
And it's just really cool looking. The shields are red, like the force field shield barrier, and there are clone troopers in between each one. So it makes it even harder. So. And keep in mind, guys, at this point, Mando doesn't have any weapons. They disarmed him earlier, so he knows it's going to have to be hand to hand. And he goes, he fights them. He's ready to fight them head on. So this is a cool scene, especially because he's asking R5, okay, on my mark, you disable each shield in succession. So he's thinking, I'm going to hand to hand.
It's like I don't have to fight them all at once. I can fight them 2 at a time.
Exactly.
And so it evens the odds a little bit.
Great. Yeah, it's great. I love how they do this. I think this is
and it's cool because with each fight, he kind of takes something from one of the fights to help him out in the next fight. He takes a knife in one of them.
Blaster. Jetpack,
the shields.
So he's taking weapons that he'll need against Moff Gideon. It's pretty good storytelling, y'all. It's classic Filoni Favreau storytelling here.
Yeah. So as he's fighting his way through, he gets through a couple of the barriers, and then a mouse droid discovers R5, and a little siren goes off. He's alerting the other mouse droids. And R5
the mouse
is annoyed by him.
It's really funny because the first mouse droid runs up on him and makes all of his little panicky sounds that he's there, and R5 kind of shocks him. He shoots him.
He zaps him.
Little shock thing, and the mouse droid runs off. And so, it's really fun because it's like R5. R5 is is kind of, I'm busy, go away.
Yeah. So it leaves, but it comes back with other mouse droids, and they all have their little sirens going.
It does.
Like they're like ramming into him, and they surround him. But he hangs in there and gets the job done.
It does. It's
as Mando fights his way through each barrier.
Biters. Yeah, the little ankle biters there with the droids are, that's all they can do. I mean, that's and I was thinking little ankle biters, they're just bugging him. It's really really funny. The sirens are great. Little sirens are great.
And so the R5 gets the job done, and then he uses his rocket jets to fly out of there. But yeah, very funny scene. So we have Din Djarin and Grogu finally get their way, finally make their way all the way to the command center. They go through an outer chamber containing tanks with clones of Moff Gideon in them.
Yeah, so now we find out firsthand what he's up to. Yeah. Exactly, Tina. Zap, shut up.
And so very creepy. Grogu gets a good look at one of them, and all of a sudden you get the jump scare. It opens its eyes, and it's a super creepy clone. And so Mando powers down the system.
Hallway, with all these tanks and they all have Moff Gideon clones in them. So it's pretty creepy looking because they're all kind of in various poses with their eyes closed, and Din Djarin tells Grogu, he says that's not him. But Grogu walks up to look at one of them close, and he opens his eyes and startles them. Yeah.
Have a good one, Nick. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
But yeah, Mando shuts the system down. Tanks explode. And thus taking out the clones of Moff Gideon in the process.
The water rushes out of the tanks,
which
and everything.
What a coward. Moff Gideon. Whenever they, have the confrontation, he's like, oh, you smothered them before they could take their first breath. It's like, well, you let him do it. Like you didn't give him any sort of pushback. You didn't try to fight him before he got to that point. And so, I mean, that's on you, buddy. Yeah. Didn't do anything to slow him down or stop him yourself. And so, anyway, we cut to the Mandalorian hideout. Bo-Katan and the troops have taken refuge in a green, lush cavern. Completely different than the exterior that we've seen of Mandalore. Due to the effects of the bombings of the Night of 1,000 Tears, and so we see this lush green cavern. And these Mandalorians that have taken refuge on the planet, said that they cultivated this. This lush green area, and Bo says she didn't know that such plant life existed outside the dome cities, and the captain of that group of Mandalorians who stayed on the planet said that all they needed was room to grow.
It's pretty cool. It's beautiful, just the ferns and lush and tropical, almost just green is everywhere, and it's heartening to see this area of Mandalore that's green, because so all of it is not glass, and life finds a way. To quote, so it's a good Jurassic Park quote there. Life finds a way, and that's what he says. He says all it needed was a place to grow and recultivate it. So so it's there, and so we have a start. We know we have a good start more than just from the destruction of the planet.
They said they've kind of taken refuge in these I can't remember what term they use for these kind of caved areas. But they said they've taken refuge here because they said there's threats both above and below surface.
Right.
It's I mean, you could tell just by looking at them, they've had a rough time living on Mandalore up to this point.
Oh yeah, golly, yeah.
And
With
so
all the dormant hostile species that that kind of came to life after that, with plus, we don't know. I don't, I wonder if they knew about the Imperial base there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they, were like
makes
on
you wonder
the side of the planet, or they didn't, have any contact with them, and were surprised too. But so they had a hard time surviving. They were in pretty bad shape, as y'all, if y'all remember. And that's the reason the armor took a lot of them back to the ship, because they were all in such bad shape. They needed medical attention.
Thanks for being here, Keith. And so we next we hear the armor flying in with the other ships, comes on the comms and says, "Lady Kreese, your enforcements have arrived." And bo-katan says, "Let's take back our planet. Stick the flag in the ground here. We're drawing the line, and let's take back our planet." And so the armor and troops drop from the ships and fly with their jetpacks to the surface to aid bo-katan and engage the enemy. And just again, I already mentioned the combat is very well choreographed. The aerial combat in this episode is so cool as well.
A lot of it we get to see. I've got to watch this again. So when William and I watch it the first time, I watch it the first time. Generally, I watch it the second time to go ahead and turn on the subtitles and prepare for the show. But then I usually watch these 2, 3, 4 times, guys, because I like to go back then and really enjoy it and try to absorb all of the details. And this episode has tons of great weapons and fight scenes and choreography. It's just packed, and so it's a good one, definitely.
Let's see here. And so Mando and Grogu keep making their way through the command center. And they find Moff Gideon, who immediately starts monologuing. Always think about the Incredibles and Frozone and and Mr. Incredible talking about monologuing. What does he do? He starts monologuing. And
he's monologuing. He has me on a silver platter, and the guy can't shut up. Good old Frozone.
And so he says, "My clones were finally going to be perfect, the best parts of me, but improved by adding the one thing I never had, the Force. I was isolating the potential to wield the Force and incorporating it onto an unstoppable army. And you smothered them before they could draw their first breath." And so, it's like you didn't even try to stop it, And it's like Tina said earlier in the chat. She said it gives credence to, maybe this is yet another clone of Moff Gideon, And so, you caught me monologuing, right, Katie?
Exactly.
And so. Anyway, the fight ensues. Mando shoots at him. They start fighting. He has a rough go of it at the start. He's wearing this, and I'll share my screen here. He's wearing this this special suit that seems to be give him extra strength, essentially. And so makes him that much more viable of a threat.
Well, go ahead. I'll
no, you go ahead. I'm sharing my screen here. So
it's interesting.
Here's a look at it.
Says he's trying to give these clones to make them Force sensitive, and to do that, he would need midichlorians. So
which takes us back to the first season. A couple episodes in, where he wants Grogu and has Dr. Pershing, do those tests on him.
Midichlorian count, yeah. Midichlorians, guys, and y'all probably know, but midichlorians are what very high midichlorian counts are found in force-sensitive people, in people who are eventually able to wield the force. And I have been reading this book, guys, Darth Plagueis, and it's interesting because this Darth Plagueis was a Sith Lord, an early Sith Lord. He was Darth Sidious was the Empire, who eventually became the Emperor, was his apprentice. Darth Plagueis was obsessed with being immortal, and he knew that in order to do that, he had to learn to wield the midichlorians. He had to repurpose them for something that was not natural. He had to learn to control them and to make them do his bidding, if you will. And I just read this last night. It said that he's monologuing in the book, and he basically says the midichlorians in a person's bloodstream seem to know who they belong to. So when you put someone's blood into somebody else, they don't respond.
Yeah.
So all of it. I'll try to talk a little bit more about this a little bit later because it's kind of interesting. It gives us a lot of background into the midichlorians. But yes, he does mention that he was trying to make the clones force sensitive, which brings up some good discussion there. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So basically he's taking all of the Mandalorians' trinkets, what he calls them trinkets later. He wants his clones to be able to wield the Force, to use the Beskar armor. He's trying to take all of the most powerful weapons, if you will, from all of the different species in the galaxy and combine them all to make himself and his clone army invincible, essentially.
Yeah. So I have to stop you. You brought up Darth. You mentioned unnatural. It says the dark side of the Force is the pathway to many abilities that many would consider unnatural. And then also too, did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Yes. Cutting back to Revenge of the Sith with.
And I have that quote here in the flap of the book here. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine talking to Anakin, and this would have been in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. He says, "Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise that he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side that he can even keep the ones he cared about from dying." So there's the quote.
It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
Yes. So, and that, of course, is what caught Anakin's attention because he was afraid of losing. Padme, and that was the downside to the dark side for Anakin.
Big props to Ian McDermott portraying Sheev Palpatine / Darth Sidious.
Absolutely, yeah, he's great. He's really great at it. So Darth Plagueis was he was Darth Plagueis's apprentice.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of going back. And then it even talks about Darth Plagueis's master rule of two. There are always two, master and apprentice. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah. So yes, here's a good look at Moff Gideon and his, Mandalorian suit. The spikes on his helmet, very reminiscent of those that were part of the Death Watch. And those that were also those that were loyal to Darth Maul during his rulership as the time that he led Mandalore briefly, and so that's with the armor's has spikes on her helmet, and I've always wondered, been a bit curious about that.
She does.
Just,
she does.
Just because usually the spikes point to someone who's kind of not on the good side.
Well, and remember, one of the pirates asked her, or one of the Mandalorians asked her, "Were you Death Watch?"
Yeah,
and she didn't. And now that's interesting, William, that you should bring up the spikes on her helmet like that, because she didn't answer him directly. She just said, "Death watches no more."
Yeah.
So she didn't say yes I was or no I wasn't. She said death watches no more.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Which, as we bring that up, you have to mention Gar Saxon and the recent loss of Ray Stevenson, who will be in the upcoming Ahsoka show. I think he was only 58 years old. I mean, just very sad, very unexpected loss. And it stinks too, because so many fans had said he spoke with such exuberance about the role at Celebration this year.
And who was going to play? Oh, now I'm not familiar. Who going to play, William?
I can't remember the name of his character in the upcoming Ahsoka series, but he's in the Ahsoka series. Wow. And so he had voiced Gar Saxon in the Clone Wars.
Oh, okay. And his name was Ray Stevenson?
Mm-hmm.
Ray Stevenson. I'll look him up. I hate to hear that.
And so, it stinks that, he won't get to see, how the show, was received. Or will be received. And so
I may have seen that, but I didn't, I wasn't sure who he was or how he connected. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, really, Moff Gideon's armor kind of looks, like it gives a nod a little bit to Darth Vader, too. And so
I think so.
It's,
he has a cape, if I'm not.
And
he didn't follow Edna's rules for no capes.
Yeah. And so anyway, it's, he is formidable. And so, it's quite the fight, get us back on track a little bit here, but it's quite the fight between him and Mando. And then, the Praetorian Guard shows up. That's always bad news. We saw what happened to Paz Vizsla. And so, things were about to, business was about to pick up even more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Praetorian Guard are very.
Have a good one, Jeff.
Intimidating. Yeah. They're major intimidating. They were, of course, used by the Shadow Council during the New Republic era. So, but there was also the elite Praetorian Guard. If y'all remember, they were the personal guard of Supreme Leader Snoke. So, I think they're basically the same bunch. The elite Praetorian Guard, was probably a little different. I don't know, weapons or, training or whatever, but yeah, they guarded Snoke, and we saw them fight Ray. Ray fought them with
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. There you go. Yeah. So, thanks. Thanks so much.
In a scene that is considered by many the best part of that movie. Of the Last Jedi.
Should really have been more engaging. We've always thought we were really ready to see even more engagement on that with the Praetorian Guard, but we get some of it here. We get some of it in the Mandalorian, and they are with all that red, the red armor and what have you. They're intimidating. When they come on the scene, it just got more serious.
The music changes. So business picks up whenever they come on the scene. And so Mando fights the Praetorian Guard, and then it starts to look kind of dire for Mando. He's kind of being overcome a little bit, and then Grogu steps into the doors that they had come, from where they'd come. And he hits the no button, no. and it gets the guards' attention. They go to pursue Grogu, which is which is worrisome.
All right.
It made me nervous, and so Mando, tries to get up and go help, and Moff Gideon, shoots him with a rocket in the back, knocks him down.
Mando says that he's just terrified. He screams no, when they chase after Grogu. And
so the door shuts, and he's in there with the Praetorian Guard, and Mando gets strung up by Moff Gideon, reeled back in. Thinks looks like we're in rough shape here, and so meanwhile we have the other Mandalorians flying, with their jetpacks, fighting the troopers who also have jetpacks and Beskar armor in the cavern. It's cool to see the armor has.
There are a lot of fight scenes going on. Oh, aloha, Elena.
Hey, aloha, Elena.
Aloha.
Great to see you.
Thanks so much. But yeah, so you have the fight that's going on in the air. You have the fight that's going on in the cavern, which and that's where the armorer is. Loved seeing the armorer fighting. By the way, I thought that was so cool.
Well, with her tools too. I mean, it's like good grief. Like, I think I'd rather be shot by a blaster than clubbed over the head with her hammer. It's like, man, it's like
multi-purpose, guys.
Just so brutal. Yeah, and so she goes to work with her tools, and and it's funny because when I first saw her, I was like, man, that doesn't seem very practical. And no, I mean, she just bludgeons people with her tools. It's really cool. And so it's also cool too in this scene.
Emily Swallow plays the armor.
But we see bo-katan flying around, utilizing the Darksaber, and then at one point she kind of slides over this bridge and then catches herself in the air on the other side, and she fires knee rockets at some troopers. And you can go back. So the episode where we see Boba, make his debut in the Mandalorian back in season 2, I just freaked out. But and it's like the knee rockets just sent me over the top, and so
knee rockets, really?
Yeah.
Where else do you have weapons?
Yeah, exactly. Just a walking weapon essentially. And so anyway,
lots of trinkets.
Yeah, to quote Moff Gideon there, and she sees Mando's in a bad way. She goes to help him out. She kind of launches herself into Moff Gideon and says, go help, go get your kid. I've got this.
Yeah.
And so he goes, and we see Grogu. She says, I've got this. Go save your kid. Gideon says, bo-katan Kryze, what's it going to be this time? Surrender or fight? And she raises the Darksaber and answers his question.
She I mean, you can feel her venom. You can feel her anger. It's like, you will not do this to me again. I trusted you once. It ain't happening this time. And so
basically, give me liberty or give me death.
That's
to quote
it.
William B. Travis.
To the Matrix, bring it
popularized by in the Matrix, and also Dwayne the Rock Johnson with the just bring it,
just bring it. Shut up and fight.
So Gideon has the electro staff, as we saw in the picture that I had shared previously. I can bring it up again real quick and let you read the notes on that.
That is now the electro staff that he is wielding, guys. I don't think we have seen heretofore in the Mandalorian. This is the kind that was wielded by the Magna Guard droids way back in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And other Star Wars projects that had the Purge troopers.
The Magna Guard droids protected General Grievous
Yes.
And the reason I know that is because it's in Wyatt's Star Wars Little Golden Book
Oh,
called I Am a Droid. And so there are droids that have many different purposes.
yes, yes. And they're elite stormtroopers, and they wear black lightsaber resistant armor, and they support the Inquisitors. Of course, the Inquisitors were, trained to hunt and kill Jedi. We learned about the Inquisitors and their background in Obi-Wan Kenobi, that series. And they are best known as some of the main antagonists in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from 2019. They were designed for single combat against lightsaber-wielding opponents specifically. And their blades generate a powerful electromagnetic field capable of blocking the plasma blade of a lightsaber, and that allows Gideon to counter Bo-Katan's Darksaber. So that's why, his weapon, he's prepared for her. He knows that she wields that he's probably eventually going to be fighting somebody with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And so he chooses this plasma blade, or this electro staff to fight her, because he knows it gives him his best chance against her.
And many of the quote unquote trinkets that are utilized by Mandalorians were to help them fend off Jedi as well. And so
lightsabers will not cut through Beskar.
And so, it's interesting to see the tools that both Mandalorians and the Empire, created to help, combat Jedi essentially.
Right. Yes.
So here he is, Moff Gideon, holding the electro staff, double-ended. You can only see one side of the picture, but it's double-ended.
Lots of.
It's really cool when he brings it out and it pops out, kind of like retracting blade. It's cool to see the ends pop out of it as he breaks it out to wield it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We scenes cut back and forth. You see the Praetorian Guard. Grogu's kind of hopping around on these light fixtures, essentially playing keep away with the Praetorian Guard. They're kind of like smacking these light fixtures and trying to get him, and he just keeps hopping from fixture to fixture. And then finally, they break one of them. It falls on top of him. Honestly, I thought, and what I thought might happen whenever two pieces of it kind of land on top of him, honestly, it would have been kind of brutal, but I was halfway expecting him to force push one of those like through one of the guards. But anyway, Mando shows up right on time as they were about to, they were on the upswing to strike Grogu, and Mando shows up and goes to work, starts blasting him. And so,
so they, working together here, all working together. When one of them, with this episode, when one of them looks like he's just about down, that they just about have him, one of the, Bo-Katan steps in, or, Mando steps in for Grogu, or Grogu steps in for Mando and Bo. And, it goes back to that, Katie Sackhoff, says, Mandalorians are better together. So this is definitely, you got the armor fighting, you got Axe Woes come there. They're
all in a united front
here. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's
which, they've said that's been the problem before, is that, they destroy themselves more so that they're destroyed from the outside
with their division.
And so,
exactly.
Grogu helps Mando too by subtly using the Force at different points during this fight with the Praetorian Guard, and also against Moff Gideon as well. He uses the Force to move things, or people out of the way just enough to kind of throw off their cadence, to as they kind of swing and things like that. And so, it's for them to take down the Praetorian Guards. Very impressive.
So extremely so.
the armor and other Mandalorians keep fighting troops in the cavern. Axe Woves radios in and tells them he's coming in hot. That he's going to take out the base with the the Imperial Star Destroyer. He's just going to fly it right into the face, kamikaze style. And Moff Gideon says to Bo-Katan, "Hand over the Darksaber, and I will give you a warrior's death." And it's like, well,
probably not.
Yeah.
No, I'll just say no to that.
Yeah, I'm thinking no. And so, anyway, Bo-Katan advances in on Gideon. They fight. And they're good back and forth fight. And then she kind of goes to swing on him, and he catches her hand, and then sends like a charge and like destroys the Darksaber, which I was very shocking to me. We haven't necessarily seen something like that happen. At any sort of Star Wars live action up to this point.
Never seen it before.
And so, very, very shocking to see that happen. And he tells her,
Darksaber. Especially to
he tells her, "You've lost everything. Mandalorians are weak once they lose their trinkets." And
so it's like, and you're still kind of. I mean, I was still like, "What? What just happened here?" It's like when they blew up the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
Anyway, go. No.
Yeah.
That did not just happen.
And so, he destroys the Darksaber, kind of pushes her off to, away from himself. He says that to her, and then she just kind of looks up and smiles and says, "Mandalorians are stronger together." And that's when Mando shows up and starts, blasting Moff Gideon in the helmet. We get the Mando music, then they all start fighting.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, Axe Woves puts the cruiser into a nosedive, and just before impact, he blasts out the window, and then jetpacks out of it. The cruiser crashes into the cavern. It starts collapsing.
Yeah, so like fire and stuff falling, and it's a bad.
And so Bo-Katan and Grogu, it's really neat because Bo-Katan uses the her little wrist shield to protect Mando at one point. Grogu bails them out by pushing, using the Force to push the Electro Staff off of the ledge. So Moff Gideon can't reach it. And it's crazy, too, because he immediately goes to fire at Grogu. And that's when Mando slides in to cover for Grogu.
Okay, thanks for popping in, Keith. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. And so Mando fires at Moff Gideon repeatedly. It forces him backwards into a huge wall of fire. Your massive explosion. As to quote Marvin the Martian, it's an earth-shattering kaboom.
That's
it's
nice.
It's large explosion.
Right.
And so it looks looking at the notes here, you picked up on the same thing I did with this scene. Just this massive explosion and fire everywhere. And Mando, Bo-Katan, and Grogu survive it with a force field that I think even I lost her name. Violet from The Incredibles would envy.
Yes.
Puts up this force field. All the fire just keeps coming. It's not just a wave of fire. It engulfs the whole thing and stays that way. For an extended period of time.
And it engulfs. Of course, Gideon is closest to it, so it just surrounds him. It just engulfs him, and he's gone. Yeah. And then it's coming like the camera is just flooded with fire. That's all you can see. And then this this triumphant da da
Yeah,
da
it's kind of the little
music.
music that they've given Grogu.
Yeah, it is when he, does something great to save them. And you see this force field.
Yeah.
They're in like a dome force field.
Do the magic hand things, baby.
Do the magic hand thing. And is protecting them from, and Bo is still, Bo kind of looks at it. She's still got her little shield.
Yeah.
Her little wrist shield. And all the fire, Grogu holds it, until all the fire is past them and saves their lives. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, big scene there. And, and then he lets the shield down and, kind of collapses to his bottom. Like, the force, it exhausts him whenever, this is a, substantial use of the force here, to protect
there's
them.
Something I noted though, excuse me, and up to this point, and maybe a couple times before this, he had always just collapsed completely, like lying down.
Yeah,
he just sits down. He just sits down. He doesn't completely, fall over and faint or go to sleep.
Yeah.
So he's getting stronger. I mean, I took that as a subtle, indication that he's getting stronger. It doesn't tire him out as much as it used to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you got a really good note here from Star Wars Rebels. I'll let you make sure you get credit for this one because I thought of the same thing.
And this the group here being protected, from the blast by a force shield, echoes the valiant efforts of Kanan Jarrus. Let me say that name again, Kanan Jarrus, because he's one of my favorite Jedi. He's a prominent figure in Star Wars Rebels from 2014, the animated series. And as one of the few survivors of the Jedi Purge, Kanan spent years struggling with his responsibilities as a Jedi. Go watch Rebels, guys.
Yeah.
In Rebels season 4, spoiler ahead, he shouldered that responsibility on his own terms. And in Jedi Knight from 2018, the Imperial forces corner the rebels on the top of this massive fuel depot, and they ignite an explosion. And really similar to the situation that we see, bo-katan and Din Djarin and Grogu in here. Kanan holds back the blast long enough for his Padawan and crew to board their ship, and then he sacrifices himself so that they can escape. And I can tell you that when I watched that particular episode, I just about cried.
Yeah,
because I did not want to lose Kanan. I absolutely loved him. But it's basically the same. It's very reminiscent of what happened in that episode of Rebels, is where Kanan Jarrus sacrifices himself. Yeah.
So. Yeah, I thought of the same thing as well. But we cut to we make it out of this jam. The Mandalorians have bested the Imperial forces. They bested Moff Gideon. We hear drums. Yeah, or at least hopefully this is the real Moff Gideon, because it's it's like Loki. How many times do we have to kill you?
But I don't think it is.
Yeah, and so we'll see. Time will tell whether or not that was actually the real Moff Gideon, or whether or not that was some superpowered clone. Who knows? But we hear some drums. We see Mandalorians are gathered here at the Living Waters again for Ragnar, who is Paz Vizsla's son. His initiation ceremony, him taking on the creed. No outside interference from giant alligator creatures this time, thankfully. And so, it's really a bookend. This is
how we started the series, remember, was Ragnar Vizsla's initiation. This is how the whole thing started, and we've come full circle now.
Yeah, solid bookends to this season.
Yes.
And so we see his initiation ceremony, him taking on the creed, his name being added to the song, and so he's the creed goes as follows: I swear on my name and the names of my ancestors that I shall walk the way of the Mandalore, and the words of the creed shall forever be forever forged in my heart. All the Mandalorians say this is the way. And so, after Ragnar, Mando approaches.
Especially since we lost his dad.
This very impactful. Which I have more on that here in a second. But we see Mando approach the armorer with Grogu, and he says, "Grogu is my apprentice. He is no longer a foundling. Add him to the song." And the armorer says he's too young to speak, and therefore too young to take the creed. And Mando says, if a parent gave permission, could he become an apprentice? And the armorer says yes, but they don't know, whether, where his parents are far away, and we don't if they're even alive. And so Mando, very touching here, very, very touching.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Pulled at my heartstrings. Mando says that he would adopt Grogu as his own, and so Grogu kind of turns his head to him and kind of, it turns it to the side a little bit, cocks his head a little bit. And, and so very, very touching. And all the Mandalorians say this is the way. And so the armorer says, let it be written in song that Din Djarin is accepting this foundling as his son.
Okay.
And she says, I cried. There you go. It pulled at my heartstrings for sure. And to Grogu, she says, you are now Din Grogu, Mandalorian apprentice.
This just killed me.
And she says, you must leave Mandalore and take your apprentice on his journeys, just as your teacher did for you. Mando says, this is the way. Grogu peers into the water, and the camera pans down to the mythosaur, and it bellows. It bellows.
The mythosaur makes a noise, guys, under the water. Yeah.
We cut to the.
Just gave me chills.
Yeah. Next, in a very triumphant moment, they're there at the Great Forge. The armorer approaches with a torch, and she hands it over to bo-katan.
I love this.
It's very symbolic here, of continued unity between the two groups of Mandalorians. We've wondered whether or not they could coexist. The first time Mando comes across the Night Owls there, Axe Woves, Koska Reeves, and bo-katan, we've come so far since then. Mando didn't recognize them as being legitimate Mandalorians because they removed their helmet. And so we've come very far between these two parties. And so to see them both here united as one, lighting the forge is a big, big moment. Bo-katan lights the forge with the torch. It's cool because it's normal fire, and then it starts burning blue.
It's fantastic.
Axe Woves, they're all clanging their wrist bracelets, their wrist gauntlets together, which I think is super cool. Again, reminds me of stick taps in hockey. And so, and then Axe Woves. And so we mentioned Ragnar just a second ago, and I want to say, who's Ragnar standing next to? He's standing next to Axe Woves. So,
that's a good call out.
Paz Vizsla and Axe Wove butted head from the minutes. They both kind of acknowledged each other of being the alphas of both groups.
Excellent catch.
We lose Paz, and who is Ragnar standing next to along with the other Mandalorians? He's standing next to Axe Woves. And so, I love it. Perfect placement.
I'm crying all over again. I didn't catch that. I did
perfect
not
placement. So we see Axe seemingly stepping in as that potential father figure. I don't want to read too much into it, but I think that's what they intended for sure to have put them there in this giant crowd of Mandalorians. And so and then Axe yells for Mandalore. And they repeat it 3 times, him and the crowd for Mandalore. And so great scene. Awesome to see unity between all the Mandalorians.
It's great.
We next we cut to the cantina. We have Dave Filoni's there as Trapper Wolf seated at the bar there at the cantina.
Yeah, Dave's there again. Love to see Dave, Trapper Wolf.
Yeah. Mando and Grogu approach Captain Carson Teva again. Mando offers to help with the Outer Rim. He says that he, y'all don't have the, you don't have the forces to, chase all these Imperial remnants. Mando explains to him that, I'm essentially offering my services. He says, Grogu's my apprentice. I'm going to be more selective in the job so that I choose to do.
I'm a dad now. I can't be as reckless as I once was.
I'm not getting, some guy's head for mobsters anymore.
Right.
And so, I'm trying to kind of operate above the table a little bit more, if you will, and run a more reputable operation here. And so it's funny because
I'm going legit.
Yeah, and so
or a little more legit anyway.
Carson Teva, kind of tries to kind of downplay it, try to be a little bit coy, and Mando tells him, I'll think it over, and he said, essentially says, you already have, it's a good deal. And you're going to do it. And so while they're there, it's another thing that's funny to me is Grogu always finds the snacks wherever he is. And so he's like sitting there on the cantina table, eating some snacks, and he notices they kind of have trophies lined up here, helmets of Imperials and things like that. They have trophies lined up here above the bar, and one of those is an IG-11 head. And he takes note of it, and Mando says, well, I want a small advance, he's so essentially Carson Teva says, oh, we'll never be able to get this by, with the higher ups, and it's like, well, Mando says essentially you don't have to. So
that's why you're not going to tell him.
Yeah, and so. Anyway,
that Carson Teva is bound to be just really excited about this.
Yeah,
he knows Mando's.
He told him right off the bat. He said, let me get you a drink, and he says, no, I'm here on business. Yeah. And so, anyway, it's a neat interaction between those two characters. The small advance that he asked for is the IG-11 droid head. Mando tells him it reminds him of someone he knew. Obviously talking about IG-11, and so they end up getting the IG-11 droid head, which we see as revealed shortly. But we cut to Navarro. We see High Magistrate Grief Karga. It says he says, the people of Navarro appreciate all you've done, Mando. I want to give you this deed to a cabin just outside of town. Where you can lay low with your new family if you choose to, between adventures, because he knows that Mando is not Mando's not done with his adventures. Lost Mom there. Let's see if I can add her back in. There she is. Just a second.
Guys, sorry about that, guys. I had
there
to.
You are.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to restart.
You're good.
Interference.
And so. He gets the deed to the cabin. He knows that Mando's not ready to hang his hat, hang his boots up yet. And so it's, you can lay low if I like that. Cool. I like what he says. You can lay low with your new family if you choose to, between adventures. And he says, and that goes for you too, Din Grogu, which, get to hear him addressed with his name. Really neat. And so Mando says, well, I also have a gift for you. And he presents IG-11, who's all fixed and ready to be the Marshal of Navarro. The Anzellans fixed him, and so he walks through the city, and all the he's cheered by the people. And the last scene we get is Mando sitting on the front porch of the cabin with Grogu. Levitating a frog above the pond. Yeah, the poor frog, Tina. He doesn't eat it.
He doesn't eat him.
Yeah.
eat him, Tina.
And he
He
lets
didn't
it
eat the
drop
frog.
into the water, and that's how we end the episode. And so, really, they did a good job of wrapping this season.
I
I've
think so
seen
too.
kind of rumblings that John Favreau has already written season 4. And so, you never know how official those things are, but I wouldn't be
Right.
surprised at all. But,
Right.
I thoroughly enjoyed each season of The Mandalorian up to this point. This season had some, really incredible moments. It's neat that bo-katan, got so much focus this season, and so it kind of frees us up a little bit to see, where they take the story from here.
It does.
But
it's not some of our Star Wars in the YouTube universe have called this kind of a reset.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it kind of maybe is. It's sort of a wrap up of all the adventures so far. But we're also set, where you have to take your apprentice on his journeys. So we've got that. We've got that. He's Grogu's, adoptive father now, which he really has been his father for the entire series or most of it. And, you've got the base on Navarro, you've got, so, at this point in time, all is, everything's pretty good, and what I expected, they did not go exactly the directions that I was expecting. At the beginning of the season, we had talked about how bo-katan was going to take back the Darksaber.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved how they did that. There were just a lot of things about this season that I enjoyed.
Yeah, agreed. A couple glimpses of the mythosaur were was really cool. Seeing the two sides come together and coexist was really neat. Just a lot of great moments in this season.
Seeing that live mythosaur was really cool, because I've just always been kind of fascinated with that symbol. I just think it's cool. I don't know who originally drew the mythosaur, but whoever did it, it's way back to way back to
the influence of that that character and that symbol have carried forward more than they probably could have ever anticipated.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, it's so true, because we first saw that on Boba Fett's armor. It was there way back there. So when they designed that he was kind of supposed to be a background character, guys, and now look what we have. So that happens sometimes.
IMDb users rated this episode an 8.8 out of 10. Solid rating.
I gave it a 9.
Yeah,
I gave it a 9.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd give it a 9.5. But obviously, I think for me, still, just because it was so surprising, it's hard for anything to top the season finale of season 2.
Oh well,
just because they did such a great job of keeping that under wraps, and given the character, it's hard for that to top that. But this season finale was excellent as well.
It was. I really enjoyed it. They're just continuing on with great storytelling, and I appreciate that. So look forward, to what else is coming down the pike.
Any speculation that you want to share?
Like for next season?
Well, just any questions, speculation. We already discussed our theory that Moff Gideon was not the real Moff Gideon, that he was a clone.
That he's a clone. Now that's I think that's going to probably play out. I think that's a pretty good guess, pretty solid guess. Mando has adopted Grogu, which I absolutely love. I love the idea of adoption in general.
Yeah.
New adventures to come. We've got a whole new kind of a clean slate
Yeah, the
here.
possibilities. Yeah, possibilities are kind of endless at this point. For where they decide to take Mando and Grogu. We've wrapped up the Mandalore story arc. We've wrapped up the Darksaber, story arc. And
it's
so,
gone.
and so, granted, we could obviously see those characters again in the future, but yeah, that's not necessarily, we've tied up those loose ends there.
Right.
We did not see. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, a big surprise though on the Darksaber. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
I did not see.
I do wonder if it will be reconstructed potentially.
We have, if you continue with Clan Vizsla, we have Ragnar.
Yeah.
Paz Vizsla fought Mando for it in one of the later episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. It was his ancestor who crafted the Darksaber, who was Mandalorian and Jedi.
Tar Vizsla.
So Tar Vizsla. So
the first Mandalorian and Jedi.
So we could kind of see, Tina's wondering about the mythosaur, if at some point it will come into play, and maybe there's another Darksaber floating around. Or will it be remade? Will the blade be, remade, like a Lord of the Rings, kind of thing? We'll have to see if that happens.
I'd like to see it. I would like to see it. But we did not see Ahsoka in this series, but we know that the Ahsoka show is coming. There was no end credit scene.
Thanks, Katie. Go Stars.
Oh, goodness gracious. They needed it in the worst way. Don't have a great, I've got a bad feeling about this, hoping that Vegas doesn't break out the brooms on us, but hey, they haven't won the fourth game yet. So the series is still alive. So I think there's only like 4 teams that have ever come back from a 0-3 deficit to win the series.
We shall see what they are made of.
It's slim chance. Yeah, keep the faith. There you go. Thanks, Katie. They need all the help they can get. Tuesday night was just embarrassing all around between the fans and what happened on the ice, and it was terrible. So I'd like to pretend like that never happened and move forward.
Get a reset. We need a reset.
And so we did not get an end credit scene for this season. So I was they've kind of got it at a good place. So we'll see where they go from here. But the Ahsoka show, we still don't have an official date to my knowledge, and it's the end of May.
I looked. It's the end of May. We should be getting something on that pretty soon, guys. And on Hitchhiker Chat, if you guys are not watching Hitchhiker Chat, it's our regular Tuesday night, kind of our mainstay live stream. It's on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to break down Ahsoka and who is Ahsoka before the show starts. We'll probably do that sometime in July. I think I've got it on the calendar.
Yeah, surely as we get a date, we'll try to.
So we'll break all of that down with all the characters that you're going to see on Ahsoka. Many of them are from the animated series Rebels. So I'm really looking forward to going through that. I'll have a good slideshow so you'll be able to recognize the characters, backstory on each of the characters to kind of get you ready for that. For that series. So we're looking forward to it. And I did want to mention this again because I didn't mention the author, James Luceno. And it was on the New York Times best-selling author, James Luceno, Dark Ages. So if you want lots of Star Wars books, guys, and these are canon. So if you want to do some reading and get some excellent background, these are excellent. A shout out to Kenzie Day's dad, Tracy for getting me started in the reading and, where to start and what have you. If you're interested in, there are lots of books, where he guided me to start. Send me a direct message on Instagram, or you can, hey, Mikey, you can email us at thehitchhikingbones@gmail.com, and I'll try to send you in the right direction. Yes, Mikey. Yes, Mikey. I've had editor's block on top of lots of things happening in my life. Good things, supposedly good things, but I'll be letting y'all know about that pretty quick. And we've got this trip coming up, so I did want to say, guys, we are. We do, we have, some recommendations, obviously, just quickly here, some housekeeping list of all the Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels, two animated series that reference Mandalore, is in the description of this video. So check that out if you're interested in watching specifically the episodes that reference Mandalore. The Clone Wars essential episodes are also grouped on Disney Plus. So if you go over to the Star Wars section, you can see that. It's also really cool. And you can also find past episodes of Mandomania on our channel playlist. So, if you want to, I'm going to drop a link here. If you want to go to that playlist and watch all of our Mandomania reviews for all the way back to season 1, please feel free to do that. We would appreciate it. I think you'd really enjoy that. So there's that link. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate you. Appreciate you being here. We see you.
Season 3, we've got Star Wars Skeleton Crew coming up sometime this year. Season 3 of the Bad Batch is in the works. Season 2 of Visions dropped on May 4th of this year. And then the Star Wars Jedi Survivor game. It's the story of Cal Kestis continues in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, a third-person galaxy-spanning action-adventure game from Respawn Entertainment, developed in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. This narrative-driven single-player title picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Excellent video game. Excellent video game. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it. Story's fantastic. But it follows Cal's increasingly desperate fight as the galaxy descends further into darkness with the Empire.
Cal, I need to do some reading on Cal Kestis. I'm not as familiar with his character.
It's a great game. His droid's a lot of fun. BD1 is a cute little droid. And we saw a BD unit, I think, in Book of Boba Fett.
It's too cute.
And so Cal's adventures as a seasoned Jedi Knight introduce new force powers, lightsaber stances, abilities, and equipment to master as he faces new threats, explores unknown frontiers, and fights to protect those that he cares about. So I really like that. So basically in the first game, you kind of unlock abilities like force abilities, because he's basically suppressed the force in himself in order to survive Order 66 and stay off the radar. And so the further you play into the game, you can essentially level him up and get more force powers. And so
cool.
I like the way that they've continued to build on that as he continues to grow in the force. So great game. Glad that you mentioned it in the notes there. I haven't played the new one yet, but the Fallen Order is a great game. And I've heard very positive things about Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, so that's a good option there. If you're a video gamer, for sure. But yeah, definitely.
So on Tuesday night, I talked about on our Hitchhiker Chat. I talked about the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival. Looking forward to seeing that. Attending that here in a few days, a few weeks. So there's the festival passport. And so, missed you this past Tuesday or on Tuesday, Mom. Look forward to having our.
Thanks for taking that on Tuesday. I appreciate you taking that by yourself.
let's see here. Yes, we'll be talking about. Let's see. If you want to watch episodes of the Clone Wars and Rebels that deal specifically with Mandalore, like Mom mentioned earlier, we have a link for that in the description below.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else you want to mention?
Check that. Possibly next week, guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do a slideshow, kind of, cover this thing, kind of, wrap it up, just a review. It's not going to be long, but I just there were some things I wanted to share, some pictures, maybe, a look ahead to the Ahsoka series that's coming up to sort of try and tie it all together. But so probably going to do that next week. I don't have up a thumbnail for it, but I think I'm probably going to do that just to tie everything with the bow. And gosh, we appreciate you guys watching as usual.
For sure.
Again, hit that like button, give us
really brief show and tell,
subscribe.
Super quick as we're starting to wrap things up. Really brief show and tell. So they recently released lightsaber little attachments here for new emos. And so
you did not.
Darth Kermit has these are like $12.99, and you get a red, blue, and a green one. Obviously the price, is obviously these tiny little lightsabers are definitely overpriced, but nevertheless, a whole lot of fun. We have the
cute
Darth Kermit is wielding the red lightsaber, and we've got Stitch with some Empire pajamas on, wielding a blue lightsaber, and then we have Goofy currently wielding the green lightsaber. So
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And it's a lot of fun. I didn't necessarily want to pay $12.99 for these three tiny lightsabers, but I must say they're a whole lot of fun, and Wyatt's had a great time with them too. So
and Wyatt takes such good care of his toys too.
Yeah,
so
for the most part, yes.
Really for the most part, he does. He really does. So that is those are neat. I saw those when they introduced those on Shop Disney, and I thought, oh please, lightsabers for Doremos. Oh my gosh, here we go.
I have to get some good. I have to bring Darth Kermit and get some good pictures at the parks with Darth Kermit.
You really will, yeah. I think that's definitely Instagram worthy.
Oh, for sure,
maybe
no doubt.
In front of the Falcon.
Yeah. Whatever you're taken captive by. You're taken captive by the First Order on the Rise of the Resistance. They're in the bay with all the stormtroopers would be a great place for.
It really would. Yeah.
Darth Kermit.
Really they some really really cute. That's cannot forget him. Cannot forget to bring Darth Kermit with us. That would be great. But thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it. We've loved reviewing season 3 of The Mandalorian. You know how much we love it, and we appreciate all of you. Thanks to our recent subscribers.
Yes.
We're up to 830. We really appreciate that. We've picked up several new ones. Got this trip coming up. Hope to keep moving there as we push to 1,000 subscribers, and we appreciate all of you, especially our mods, especially our
Ghost Host moderators. Love
and
so appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Thanks for keeping the chat family friendly, so we can go through what we've prepared for each show, and it's always you make our channel better. With keeping an eye out for the trolls. So. But yes, we go live every Tuesday night, 9:00 p.m. Central, 10 o'clock Eastern for Hitchhiker Chat. Be sure to join us next week, and keep an eye out. Mom potentially may be going live next week around this time to do kind of a review of season 3. So keep an eye out for that. Check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you want to reach out to us, send us a direct message on Instagram or email us at thehitchhikingbones@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, ring the bell if you haven't already. Again, like Mom said, we have a trip coming up, so have some streams planned for that. So keep an eye out. But anything else you want to mention as we wrap?
I can't think of a thing.
Oh,
I think
almost forgot. I got to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to Aunt Joy and Aunt Susan, Jillian, Kylie, and other family members. Dean the Turkey Legster, T. McNeil, Katie Mack, Wishing on Stars, Jennifer Caruso, Ethan Armitage, Kevin Theme Park Adventure, Disney World Freak, Derpy Entertainment, Diz Our Dream, Surf Bum, The Move Mania Nick, Angela DOD, Diz Our Dream, BDF, Elena K808, and Mike Wheeler. Appreciate all y'all being here. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for being here, Angela. We really appreciate it. Jeff too, as well, and everybody that made it. Mm-hmm. Again, thank you to our the captains of our team replay, Lisa, Keith, and Joey. I know we gave them a shout out earlier, but if you're watching the replay, drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought of the show. If there's anything you want to share, if you have any theories, related to where the show may go after this, we'd love to hear them. So, anything else you want to mention?
I think that's it. All
right. This is the way we have spoken. Remember, at the Hitchhiking Bones YouTube channel, there is always room for one more. So please
hurry back.
Bye, everyone. May the force be with you always.
Bye. Till the spire, travelers.
Till the spire.